drugs. And not just drugs, not just any drugs, alcohol. Now, I'm not a teetotaler. Obviously, there's nothing wrong with alcohol. I'm not a Puritan who thinks that some kind of weird obsessive thing, that there aren't positive applications of various substances. God created those substances. We know that men damaged on the battlefield have been given opiates for pain and this kind of stuff. So, I mean, these things have a place, right? So I'm not a libertarian in the sense of, look, we should all have access to all the drugs we want, bro. But I'm also not a sort of Puritan teetotaler goofus. I mean, that's just ridiculous. Okay, these are two extremes. However, when a society gets really degenerated, it doesn't work then to introduce the more libertine concepts, right? So there's complexity involved in this debate. I'm not really interested in getting into all the complexities of the legalities of this stuff. I just want to stress that. So I drank a lot in my 20s, partied a lot, went to bars a lot, this kind of stuff. My life has been exceedingly better since completely stopping drinking. I haven't had one drop of alcohol outside of, communion in years. I don't remember the last time I had alcohol. Maybe a shot of tequila being on Clyde Lewis's radio show 3 years ago, something like this. And I remember vomiting profusely after too much tequila. That was the last time I recall having any alcohol. And what has happened as a result? Well, my life is way better. I'm able to do way more productive stuff, right? Put out way more content, do a lot more work as a result of just never drinking. Now, this can have an alienating factor in the sense of everybody else freaking drinks their brains out, falling over, acting like idiots, and you really see this and realize this when you don't drink anymore. And I'm not saying, oh, I'm better than you because I don't drink. No, that's not the point. We're just talking about practical life type stuff here, right? Of getting more done, being more accomplished, being able to do more when you're not slugged down through drinking. And now, when I drive around and I see ads for freaking giant pink donuts everywhere. I remember driving down the road a year ago, and it was just like every billboard was freaking donuts. And I'm like, is all of Illinois, I was driving through Illinois, obsessed with donuts? Is the whole state the donut state? This is ridiculous. And I started thinking, this is actually, sugar is a kind of a drug, obviously. And this is addicting people. It's the same principle with alcohol. Alcohol, right? Everywhere. So rather than looking at it like, is it wrong to drink? Am I sinning if I have a drink? No, that's retarded. That's not the right way to think about it. Think about it instead of, can I be more productive if I don't drink? See? Same way with diet. Is it wrong to eat bread? What's the optimal diet? That's the point, right? Right. So that's the thing here. So we're not talking just about right and wrong. That's very kind of simplistic thinking. We want to think in terms of what's optimal. And drugs and alcohol, for the most part, are not optimal for your life. If there's a lot of nonsense about drugs too. Oh, if I ever did one drug one time, I'm immediately an addict. No, that's not true. And when there's lies propagated about things, that actually just makes people get into it more. So no, but again, are you going to therefore, because you're not immediately addicted, are you just going to do anything because, well, it's not going to addict me? No, that's a ridiculous reason not to do something just because it's not addictive, right? There are other reasons why. Right? Well, maybe it's just not wise to start doing this drug that will lead to addiction, right? Maybe it's not wise to waste my time with this kind of a drug. And again, I'm not trying to be legalistic as if all instances of drug use are bad or wrong. It's just that why would you not want to be in an optimal productive state? So reorient your thinking outside of like doing this or that bad thing or good thing, and instead start thinking of what you can do in your life that's productive, creative, and even think about the things that you like to do. Start thinking about ways that you could turn that into making a living. Because you have the internet and all this stuff at your fingertips now. And you could theoretically just take whatever you're into, right? Heavy metal, loofahs, DNA. Think about turning those things. Everybody was asking, what was your joke about DNA? I was just saying the crazy stuff that the Umbrella Corporation owns everything. They own loofahs, they own bath soaps, and they do viral warfare. That's all I was saying. But think about how you can utilize your skills and talents to become a means to a job and being your own boss. That's what I would say, to start thinking in that way. Because my life has become infinitely better since I'm not under the dominion of some moron screaming at me at a wage slave situation. I'm my own boss. My life was a lot better as my own boss. And you too. I feel like a car salesman. You too could have this if you just do my 12-step program. And this is a kind of a 12. This is a 10-step program to not fall for the stupid idols that trip everybody up, including me. I've been tripped up by these idols. So this is the J. Dyer self-help course. Number 4, butts. Butts. Butts are driving everybody insane. Okay, not literally butts, but get it? The insane level of sexualization. Now, hey, sex is great. Nothing wrong with that in the right settings, in the right, situations. But the weaponization of sex is a tool of social engineering and messing up society. And we know this from the Berelson document. Go look up the Bernard Berelson document. It talks about how this can be used by the state. This can be used by entities to lead to greater degrees of social control. So no disputing that, well known. And I'm just making the point that rather than looking at it like good versus bad, I mean, that's true, but I'm saying that you can look at it like weaponizing things, right? These things can be turned into weapons to alter and engineer the society. And we've seen the insane level of the weaponization of sexuality, right? And now we've got, younger generations of people who are just kind of totally raised on the prawn. So that's another thing that is causing everybody to be nuts. It messes up relationships, etc., right? Number 3, MK Ultra. You might have thought that I would include that higher or lower perhaps on the list, or maybe you're surprised that it's on this list at all because, you thought MK Ultra was about just some mind control experiment and creating Mila Jovovich. No. MK Ultra was a series of tests done at many universities over many years, and it led to the ability to take those instances that were studied on an individual scale and magnify them to the macro scale. And so on the macro scale, what happens is then you have techniques for engineering all society through many of the things that I listed above, through the technology, through the internet, through education, through gaming, through the arts, sights and sounds and blinking flashy lights, right? All of this stuff can ultimately relate back to the many MK Ultra programs. Especially the pop stars, we've covered that ad nauseum. So, but people aren't aware of this, and so they don't actually conceive of or look at all of society as this, like a giant test tube. You're in a culture, I'm talking about like a culture in a lab where you grow, foam and you grow little bacteria and stuff, where you grow the T virus, right? You exist in a culture that is a scientific experiment. And I assure you of that. That has been written of by multiple academics and social engineers at the highest levels for a year. We've covered this, 40 plus books. Go listen to the Globalism Books Talks. So you have to be aware of that, and that this whole society is set up and engineered as a sort of scam. So there's that aspect.